Well, the lath strip that holds up the plasterwork, which is mostly gone, obviously. We can see by looking at it that it's sawn on a circular saw, but it's a fairly small gauge circular saw, which would indicate that it's a production type lath. And it's nice and thick, but definitely not an 1869. My gut feeling is what we're looking at here probably is a work that was done when the building was upgraded in 1916. That type of lath would not have been readily available in 1869. There's still been a lot of the water wheel sawn lath, which would have had the straight lines on it, and it would have been much more random in width. When you look at the old lath, some of it's narrow, some of it's wide. You look at this, it's all really, really consistent. So this
looks as though these are wire nails also.
Yeah, so it's probably 20th century lath for sure there, anyways.
I don't think we can.
Hey Laura,
Yeah.
can I have my flashlight?
Oh, here is a flashlight. That's
Yeah.
I think that's Penny.
Yep, well I think I've got a small one too.
Okay.
And where's my pick at? Not Penny's pick.
Surgeon.
Thank you.
You happy now?
Yeah. And if you're not,
You have to have the right tools.
And actually, because the school would say, it has to be moved right up front before.
What?
Well, they say they're gonna bring it apart.
Well, maybe they'll change their mind.
Yeah, that's
Good.
all you have.
Good.
it's their opening bid, if you will. I mean, you know. And,
You gotta start somewhere.
yeah, that's right.
I don't think, I mean, the organization we're talking about here is looking for
This is interesting. Oh, I see, that's in later.
Joyce.
Yeah, circular saw and joists, but hand-hewn summer beam. And that's white oak. It's in very nice shape, very nice shape. So do you have any idea what I was
Well,
being
go,
led to believe was wrong?
keep going forward.
This looks to me to be a later modification here. And it may be because of the extra weight that was added for the plumbing. But my gut feeling is that this column and this beam right here are not original to the building.
Rudy, these look like you might have been rips on this top beam here. It's got, so it might have been salvage material. It doesn't look as though it's silk on.
Probably bandsawn, it looks like. Yeah, bandsawn.
Isn't that just an extra support that was added?
Yes, that's what I just said.
Oh, sorry.
It's not original to the building.
Going down the hallway.
Yeah, it's not original to the building. The joist would have spanned all the way from that wall to that summer beam originally, and this was added in later on. Excuse me. Yeah, all of this whole stud wall header assembly is all a modification later on. Yeah. I wonder what they cut that hole for. Huh. Another one. Huh.
What's going on over here?
Yeah, now this is fire damage. This is definitely fire damage. Is there a record known of the fire?
I don't know, I'd have to check and see.
Yep, that's fire damage. No question about it. That's fire damage. It's distinct. You can see the burn. You can see the char. See how the bottom of this is burning all the pieces. This is fire damage here. So this is not deterioration. As a matter of fact, one of the things that people are a little aware of is the fact that Once you have a fire, whatever's left after the fire is more rot resistant than what you had before. It may not be structurally sound, but it's more rot resistance once it's been burned. Yeah, definitely has been a fire in here.
Given the lack of ventilation down here, I'm surprised that, you know, things at the floor doesn't look as good as they do.
Yeah, they are. There's some sapwood deterioration. And if we look over here, whoop, I don't flash it. Okay. Now this you would look at and you would think, well, gosh, this is in trouble. Look, it's falling apart. This is simply sapwood deterioration here. That's what that is. It's not structural deterioration. Now that said, to bring this up to today's codes, because one of the things that building inspectors and engineers know is gravity has gotten quite a bit worse than it used to be. And so in order to bring it up to today's codes, these joists probably would not pass today's building codes. It would probably need to be reinforced to make it handle the floor loading capabilities. Now, and of course the fire damaged area would definitely need to have some work done. So it would be the thing to see is how much more damage was done by the fire. Because see, what I'm looking at here, if you look at the bottom of this flooring, we have charred flooring right to there. That's a charred floor.
Very, very clearly.
Yep, and then right here, the charring, the floorboard's gone. So this is all replaced flooring here. From here over is all replaced flooring.
I looked at the Iowa building inventory form and there's no mention in there of the fire.
And here we have it too. So
You
here,
mentioned the other fires, or
This-
the other issues, but.
this pocket is fire damage.
Yeah.
This pocket is new replacement.
Yeah.
Yep, so we definitely have evidence of a fire having happened in here. And it must not have been a significant fire because we would have lost more of the floor frame if we had a significant fire. So I think the fire that did exist in here was gotten under control relatively quickly, but it did get pretty hot. It did get pretty hot.
It melted the paint.
Pardon?
The paint is melted, or is
Yeah.
that just happens over time?
Well, there's a number of things that are going on there. When a fire attacks this type of wood, it does very radical, quick case hardening of the surface of the wood. The wood
Yeah.
gets much, much harder than it was before. And so, but it also loses its bond, so it'll come off in big flakes
Okay,
like that.
yeah.
Okay, now the really positive thing so far anyways, is I'm finding very little evidence of significant use of Portland cement. There is some, but it's, most of the mortar, see, if you look at where that's, right here, this is an indication that the walls are still bedded on lime mortar. And I'll tell you straight up, I am impressed with how well this bedding is held up. That bedding either has been tuck pointed properly, or it's the water here, the drainage around the building is good, or the water table is low, because we've got very good content of lime mortar bedding. Yeah, we do have some Portland, a lot of the veneer is Portland.
This plaster appears to be a lime plaster too. Look over there and then it's pretty soft.
Now, one of the problems that you have in buildings like this, and we can see it evidenced here, if we look around the bottom of the wall, we see that here we have some deterioration of the lime wash, okay, and we see moisture, okay. Now, that actually is the product of what we're standing on, because the concrete floor, when it's put in, concrete floor is a moisture barrier. So what happens is as the moisture in the ground tries to rise up, which is a natural process, it becomes barriered by this floor, and so the water concentrates and it begins to saturate the bottoms of the walls and work up the bottom walls. It's called rising damp is what that's called. The concrete floors cause rising damp all the time. It has not done significant damage.
There used to be a door right there that went to the outside. Where
Cellar door.
yeah, and that's where the football players would come down
Yeah,
to the
and that's a
basement.
fairly recent infill here. And it looks like there was actually a historic opening here.
For the coal. It's a coal chute, I'll
Yeah,
bet
this is
you.
all concrete here and stuff. And it may have been, it may have just been, it almost looks like it's cut right here.
The walls are nice and straight, too. There's no bowing or,
There doesn't appear to be any differential settling.
No,
No.
No, it's in very, very nice shape as far as foundation goes. I'm impressed with the foundation so far.
And the floor joists do go into joist pockets in the brickwork, but they do not appear to be deteriorated.
Right, yeah, another indication that the moisture balance of the building is good. We're not seeing anything going on there. But that lime is very healthy, and I see that's the other reason that I was suggesting that we're somehow the concept of turning this into a trade school and teach historic preservation, historic conservation work. That's one of the things that people could begin to learn, and that's the fact that what this building really needs is to get back to its original ability to breathe. Because when they encased it in Portland cement, they stopped it from being able to breathe. Prior to that, the building could breathe. And it's very high lime content mortar. This is high quality construction. Look at the color of that mortar. That bedding is very high lime content. And lime is expensive stuff, and it's very high lime content. So this is a well-constructed building, and it's done a nice job of moisture balancing, but we're starting to see some problems from that.
Now, this part does not have a cement floor.
Does
I
not
think
have
there's a
cement
light,
floor.
if you look, there's a light switch in there somewhere.
Yep.
You don't want a building on Osage Highway.
I have,
Oh, yeah, there's no light bulbs in
There
here.
we go. I was looking at, one thing I noticed looking at the outside is the absence of chimneys. There's only the one chimney remaining on the back side.
Right.
Which was
I think
added.
it was internal chimneys that were,
Well, given the construction date 1869, it's highly unlikely that they had a complete,
The boiler was added in
HVAC
1916, I think.
now here we have more evidence here of moisture
oh yes.
in the joists.
See, and in this room, as Rudy was saying, a rising damp is just coming up through the dirt and it's condensing on the underside of the flooring, the subflooring and the floor.
Let's see, I gotta find your flashlight somewhere. So.
That deserves being a museum.
Well, put your light on it so we can see it here. Shine a light on it so we can see it.
Wow. This is Mike Mulligan's steam shovel.
I think it is.
Unbelievable. Okay, now this wall,
Everybody knows that childhood classic.
Well, everyone in this room.
Yeah. I think we all remember.
we have more water damage here. We may have a drainage problem here. We're getting more bedding loss. We've got some stone that was knocked out when they stuck that window in there. But we do have a little bit more damage here. I think part of the problem too that I noticed yesterday is the fact that there are no downspouts or gutters on the building at all.
No, there are none.
And it looks as though it was originally built for box gutters and then the roof was reframed, is what it appears to be.
Yes, the historic photographs show no evidence of any kind of guttering or water distribution system at all.
Right.
And if you look at the current eave line, you can tell it's been modified. You know,
Yeah.
There's no projection, there's no crown molding.
No,
Right.
It
that's
just
pressure
So
treated.
stops right there with a piece of flat trim on the fascia.
Yeah. Okay. But again, here's the thing to consider.
Almost
Okay.
mid-span, which is
If
kind
we
of
were
weird,
looking at a
because this is
building that
holding
had
up
major
to the
foundation
too.
problems, this wall would not be plumb. And this wall is still very, very nicely plumbed, just the slightest bit of aging. It's in nice shape. And see the batter in it? It's definitely thicker at the bottom than it is at the top.
It's
But
a
we do
great
have
wall.
moisture here. Yep, we do have moisture
Yeah,
here.
it's kind of fuzzy.
Yeah. Quite a bit of moisture in some of the places in here. And my guess is this moisture is not just coming from down here. I think it's also coming from up above. We'll go look and see if we can figure out if that's.
They did have a dehumidifier running
right
for a
here,
while,
yeah, right
but
here,
but
right
they
here.
unplugged it.
All the water coming off the roof is coming down along the sides of the building.
Right.
The grading, the surface grading looks reasonably good. It does slope away from the building, but you have no way of knowing what's going on underneath that soil.
Right.
And a lot of that moisture is just soaking into the ground and capillary action and pressure is drawing it inside the building.
Again.
See, here's another chimney. Evidence of a chimney.
Yep. Yep. So they were actually internalized chimneys then built right into the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they came in and poured these pads.
Those are wood.
No, kick them.
And here's a new, that's
They
a
left the
real
framing
recent
on.
repair.
No, that was just a drip, wasn't it? Or just something fell. But look at all the sand. that they brought in.
Yeah, we have a broken floor joist here. We do have some
Yes, yeah, yeah.
joist
You're right.
subsidence here. Some of these have got some damage.
Ground's gonna be okay.
But some of those,
Pull the plug out.
yeah, some of them don't even make it a while either.
But a lot of mice are coming up into this room.
What's that, Laura?
Up and in.
Oh, just chatting over here.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about ground.
Yeah. Floor looks good.
So this was the coal room.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yep. And
There's the
where
chute,
whole
yeah.
was. Yep.
So have you sifted through the whole basement for artifacts?
No.
Although, it's a good point. I mean, you know, there are undoubtedly remnants
Yeah.
of
Very, very little Portland's in there. That's good.
keys
Beads,
and beads.
broken pottery.
I obviously, Laura, have you got the camera with you?
Yeah,
Have you gotten a few pictures of the walls?
I got that wall out there, not this one.
Get a couple of pictures down in here too, please.
Hey Rudy, did you notice there's a lot of unburned lime in this?
I saw it last night at the bar that we were at having supper. Yeah, there's quite a bit of it in here, yeah. Yeah.
But it's really amazing. I mean, this wall is just in amazingly good shape.
They're in incredible good shape. The bedding is, I mean, literally the bedding is probably, I would say, 85%, maybe even 90% intact. It's in very, very good shape.
What is the type of stone? Is that like granite? What is it? What do you
Lime-
have around
limestone?
here?
It looks like a
Lime?
limestone, yes.
Very dolomite limestone, dolomite.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Now, there is some Portland cement repointing in here.
I have found some of it, yeah, it's in a few places, here's some right here, yep, but very little, very little. Yep. And the nice thing about it is when you're dealing with limestone, it's easier to remove that Portland than when you're dealing with sandstone. The limestone tends to be more stable when you do the process of eliminating the excuse me. And we got some little bit of structural issue going on here where they busted through here. Boy, that is some
Penny,
good
do you know if
bedding.
these supports here were put in
I'm quite
while the
sure
Historical Society was still here?
they
use
may
your-
have
use
because
the
the
camera.
floor was sagging and they had a lot
Hold
of
those,
stuff
please.
here.
I mean, I'm just wondering if it was done after or before Doug Steinmetz did the TAN report.
Oh, they were here when Doug, nothing's been done to
Oh,
it since he
Russia,
did
why
the
not?
TAN report.
Sorry.
Dave Randall he's working out of town. He came last night and, you know, most of the work that's been done on it in recent times, he would have done. And the Historical Society may have added these. I think it was 1964 when the school abandoned the building, and maybe a year or so later, the Historical Society had a museum here.
The reason I'm asking is because those are all real modern fasteners. Those are,
Yeah, right.
they look like
Right. Well,
I'm
I'm assuming that's something probably Dave Randall did when the Historical Society was here because they needed to,
Yeah,
because the
even-
floor was sagging.
Yeah.
The reason I'm asking is because the TAN report mentions the floor and how unsound it is, but up above, when you're walking up above, there is really no noticeable springiness up here. So that's why I'm wondering if this was done before or after Doug Steinmetz did.
Well, nothing's been done to it
report.
since Doug Steinmetz wrote his report.
But,
Done before.
you know, I think it's important to realize too, when you're talking about the springiness, obviously we've got some failures and some patches here. This moisture problem has been going on for a while.
There's a beam there that looks pretty cracked.
Yeah, yeah, we have some joist damage. But the thing you need to realize about historic floors is that the standards of deflection that we use today to decide if a floor is springy or not are significantly stricter than they were when these buildings were being built. And so these buildings, when it was brand new, when you walked around in the building, the floor would have been springy.
True.
It's just,
And it's especially an issue if you get engineers involved,
Right.
Yep.
because they think like a modern engineer attacking a modern engineering problem.
Laura, go back and step on that side and take a picture a long ways down the page.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you. Okay, well, all the horrible problems that I've been hearing about are not apparent in the basement. Yes, the floor needs some work, but the building is 1869. Let me put it this way. This is far from the worst floor system that I've seen in buildings of this age. So,
Indeed, ooh, some genuine linoleum.
yeah. So this must have been the showers then for the
Yeah,
football players?
yeah.
Yep.
Can I have that shower head?
You'll have to talk to the school board.
There's the boiler brush.
Excuse me.
That's for cleaning out the tubes in the boiler. We have a little bit of subsidence settlement cracking right here in the foundation. You see? Okay.
Is that significant?
It's significant if it's ignored. Determination should be made as to what's actually happening here. And as a cursory inspection, I can't tell you what's happening. This is a major bearing point. Okay, we have a summer beam coming down right here, so a lot of the loads of the building are coming down. But the other thing that you need to realize is if you stand here and look at it, we've also had some major modifications been done to this foundation. So this wall doesn't have the same structural stability. And I noticed when I went outside where the plaster is popped off of the wall out there, that window right there, the masonry casing is starting to shift outward. So this wall does exhibit some instability, but not beyond, anywhere near beyond what you would expect in a building of its age.
Another issue is that right outside here, this is the center of the building, that's where that nice big slab of concrete
Giant concrete is, yeah.
So that's probably 2 tons right there.
Yep.
And that's been compacting, pushing downward and outwards for
Yep.
years.
Yep. Yep.
That crack is pretty uniform, isn't it? More or less disappears when you're here. So that would.
Yeah, so there would definitely be some attention paid to what's happening. If we got any bulging there, it doesn't look like it from here, but.
That's the downside of some of these farmers, you know. Oh, it's perfectly, but.
All in all, for 165 years in particular, I think the foundation is in remarkably good shape.
It's in incredible good shape.
I wonder why we only have one timber summer. Why wouldn't there be more timber down here for that time period?
You mean, why is there just one in the middle of the building?
Yeah.
Probably because they had a bearing wall underneath it, more or less continually,
Well, that's, yeah.
all the way until here. And this has been added, but that wall separating the 2 sections is a continuous bearing wall that's helping transfer and carry the load that the summer beam
And this one
carrying.
is doing the same too then.
Yeah, but I think down here, this beam has just been sitting on these pilasters. Here's a column right here. Here's a column right here. This one's been replaced for whatever reason. And that one, yeah, these down here have been replaced. And you can see fairly fresh earthwork down here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So all these were replaced. And I'm almost want to believe that part of the reason they were replaced is had to do with some work that they had planned for the building, because that wall is a historic wall. You can see the plaster, although most of the keys are gone. Yeah. But that's a historic wall. This wall got some age to it too. I'm wondering if that actually was used as the coal hopper at one time.
Yeah, look at the top plate though already.
Well, that was the coal room.
Look at the top plate on this one.
Oh, yeah.
That's very modern material.
Yeah, you're right. Yep. Yeah, so this one is a newer wall. This one is a historic wall here.
And I wonder if when they well, this has never been moved, so these pilasters are spaced. They're carrying the summer beam load.
You know, there's a pretty good chance that floor is a 1916 floor, because there's the edge of the slab right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably 1916 concrete.
Is that when they converted it
Yeah.
into the athletic facility?
Well, that's when the major upgrade was done. I don't know the timelines, Penny, on anything else.
They added, I know they added the windows and they put the stucco on the outside. I read an article in the newspaper about it, 1916 newspaper. When they were upgrading the main building, the central,
This is the original pilaster.
the main building of the campus, which would be this one.
This one here.
That's something that would definitely want to be fixed. But it would also, if it were to be a school, it might be better part of the school. But what they did here is they bedded the summer beam directly on Portland cement.
With no separation barrier. of any
Nothing,
kind.
there's no slate there, there's no anything there. So that would want to be fixed, because that's gonna lead to problems down the road.
See, and Penny, what? The concrete, Portland cement holds moisture.
Right, I get it, and they got the beams sitting on Portland cement.
Exactly. Moisture and wood are not a good partner.
There are 3 places here that have done that, on where they replaced this. Yep.
Another thing I noticed, Rudy, look at how well seated the
Yeah,
choice pockets are. I mean, they're only pulled out, and that may have been
Well, that's
original.
shrinkage.
You know, yes, exactly.
yeah, that's shrinkage. No, it's very, very stable. It's just, there's some problems with moisture, and that's to be expected. It's just, it can be dealt with, and with proper repair, it would be, I mean, this foundation would be ashamed to lose by itself.
Interesting. A floor drain about 6 inches above a dirt floor.
Mm-hmm.
That was,
So there must have been, there's probably a brick floor in here, I would bet.
yeah.
Probably a brick floor in here.
Oh my God. Did you notice that one? Wow.
You put your lights on it so I can get it on the camera here.
Wheel McDonald Company.
McLean.
Oh yeah, McLean Company. No date, Michigan City. Wow.
Now if you move back a little bit and give me the light, and I can see it better in the camera.
Wait a second, let me get my beam back here a bit.
There, we can kind of appreciate this a little better.
Let's see evidence of lath here, but I see nail holes. I'm just curious about this detail here, if it's just the way that the trowel finished it out, or if something else was underneath this at one time. It's kind of hard to see with the deterioration of these joists, maybe where they're in better shape. There's a lot of nails down here. I think at one time they had done something to this ceiling. But it's kind of inconclusive. Laura, did you get a picture of that wall? You could get it maybe from standing over there so you can see the crack in the historic OSB.
Okay.
And have you got a picture picture of the summer beam?
Not out here, I've got one back in here.
Okay.
It's hard with these lights.
One thing that I'd like also for you to do is if you could just step to the second highlighter here and then take a picture as close to the wall to your right as you can. It shows those cinder block columns. There you
As close
go.
to the left as I can.
Right here,
Oh,
to the right,
I
yeah,
see.
so you see them, as many as possible. Thank you. All right.
So this is not the Gary that you knew.
No,
No,
let's just see my name on the roster a couple of times.
Well, we have a fella in Ohio, his name is Randy Goyette. How do you spell your last name?
Goyette. French Canadian.
Yeah. And his specialty is historic log cabins and timber frames.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
have any, I don't think
I've done
his
a lot of
name.
work on log buildings. I worked at I was restoration and maintenance superintendent at a living history museum called Old World, Wisconsin.
Oh, really?
And we have 59 historic buildings there, and 38 of them were log.
Yeah.
Everything from a log outhouse to a 2-story big log house.
Have you come to a Timber Framers Guild conference? Maybe one we did in Canada?
No, but I did do a couple of sessions at the School of Traditional Building in Maine. I went there
Okay.
for a thatching workshop.
We met someone from historic Wisconsin at a conference, and there was a project on a barn that he was trying to get help with. This was probably 8 years ago,
From
10 years
Old World,
ago.
Wisconsin, or Wisconsin?
Oh, well, it's the place that has all the buildings, the
Okay,
59
that'd be
buildings.
Old World, Wisconsin.
Yeah, and he was wondering if the guild or some members from the T-Trag group could, you know, come up and do a workshop or give some advice or, but he was more of a director type
Well,
person.
that might have been John Riley, because he retired right around then. He was the assistant director at Old World, Wisconsin.
Okay.
From the time it opened until, let's see, he retired in, I'm gonna say about 2008,
Yeah,
2006, 2008, somewhere right around there.
Rudy was communicating with him for a while. Do you remember who that was, Rudy?
No, I can't remember his name now. I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember his name.
Did you ever meet him, or was it just?
Yeah, he was at the conference.
Yeah.
White-haired gentleman?
Yeah?
Yes.
Very Irish-looking?
Mm-hmm.
That's John Riley.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's done
Yeah.
some consulting work at
This,
the village out there on the East Coast, can't think of the name of the museum. Peter Arnold is the director.
this hole in the wall, and that concrete slab out there, I think are pairing up to do a lot of damage to this wall, and that needs to be done.
Jamestown?
So, someone has to help me here.
Okay,
This is not a timber framing tool. What is
What
it?
is it?
something
Trying to
donated,
nail down John
something
Riley.
donated to the Historical Society they left behind.
I took a picture of it. I should know what these wood bucks out here are too. I don't know if they were for stretching
Got
curtains.
one pair of
or-
holes up here and 3 sets
They,
down
they
here.
had things donated
I
and they
couldn't
just left
get it
behind
done.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's pretty soft, but the
Too
picture's
bad that's
good
in the
because
dirt.
kids look fairly
If it were
recent.
out here, it'd be better, but.
Here's a little artifact for the Historical Society, although it would fall apart if you try and open it.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
It looks like the girls softball team. And they were champs apparently, those champs.
What year?
Can't tell. Been lying there for a while.
So, I would like to know the technique they used when they...
That's what I said when I walked down. I said, this is odd.
It looks like a beaver chewed it.
I'm
Yeah,
not sure what tool you used to do that.
I think they used a sandblaster.
See, I think they added these stairs. I think maybe the only stairs were those exterior stairs. And these got added later.
Okay, so that's what I was trying to put a handle on, and I'm glad you said that, because that's what's going wrong here. If you look at this wall, what they did is between the slab that's outside and the weight of all that concrete, and busting this big hole through the wall right here, and then taking away the stiffness that the floor system adds to the structure, that's what has all combined to cause the cracking that we're seeing in this wall. So there's definitely some remedial work that's needed here. But this is not a structural failure due to the way the building was constructed. It's the results of things being done that have caused a problem.
The result of improvements.
Right, yes, yeah.
Did you look at the whole building while we were?
Human,
Not a direct cause, but-
intervention that has caused the damage. I mean, you know,
I know there's gold on there, and I ain't close to do that, because I'm allergic.
There's chunks of it that are gonna be dark, but you can hear them talking.
Well, that's what.
muddled voices, you know.
26, Model D. That's a huge. All right. So here's the thing that you need to realize about this. That I heard some very odd statements about the courthouse. People were saying one of the reasons that it shouldn't be kept is you couldn't tell what was in the walls. I was trying to make sense of that because the truth is, how many buildings, can you tell what's in the walls in your building?
Well, in mine I can because I built it.
Yeah, but the people that built the courthouse,
Yeah.
maybe somebody should ask them if there were any of them still around, which I doubt.
Mine is structural clay tile, so there's tile in there and dust.
Yeah, when you can't tell what's inside the walls, so realistically, understanding what's going on in the building, the amount of information you can get at this level and at the next level is much more limited than the information you can get in the basement and in the attic and on the exterior. Okay, there's just a lot less because what you have in here is the enclosure fabric that's used, and we already know that this is not original fabric, maybe any of it. Okay, so the amount you can glean from this, the things you can glean from the inside of the building are, is the plaster historic or is it replaced? Okay. Okay.
Come in.
Okay. So if we know the walls are plaster, which means like the ceiling we looked at down there with the last strip and the plaster on it. Okay. If we know the walls are plaster, the next thing we want to do is we want to stand here. We want to look around the building, which has been vacant for 3 years now.
5.
Five
Close
years?
to 5. Yeah.
Okay, 5 years now, okay. I can't see one fresh crack or separation in the plaster work or the trim work standing where we are at all. None. Anyone else? No. Okay. Now, if a building is vacant, and if I remember correctly, you told me, no. Was Ann, is that who we met last night?
Mary or?
No, Mary. Sorry, I'm not any good with names. I'm not bad with buildings, I'm not terrible with names. Mary, if I remember correctly, she said that last winter you had like 5 days that were 22 degrees.
Below.
22 below, and she, that last day she just stayed in bed.
I'm not getting up.
I'm not getting up, right, okay. So, a vacant building, 5 days at 22 below, okay? Not one single crack in the plaster. This just says to me, this building is stable. This building wasn't stable. It can't go through conditions like that without showing something. It's gonna say something to you. You know, this is what I don't like what's happening to me, and I'm going to show you, but it's not. It's not.
The minor cracking that you're seeing here is the result mainly of just temperature, changes in temperature over time.
Right.
You're going from minus 20 degrees
Right.
to a hot day where it's 90 or higher, and you go over that for the 5 years that it's been vacant.
Right.
You get a lot of thermal
Well,
expansion and contraction.
But it's not just the 5 years that are vacant. I mean, you know,
It's been underutilized for.
It's been unheated.
Many.
It's been unheated since 1964.
Right.
Right.
So that's, okay.
When the museum was here, they were only open in the summer,
Right.
only on weekends.
Right.
And there was no heat in the building, and it was shut down every winter.
Right. So even the last 40 or 50 years that it was a museum, it really wasn't.
Right.
You know.
Yep.
These exterior walls are, I mean, there's crazing, like you get in pottery.
Yeah, and paint failure. Yeah.
There was, we had induction radiators.
Wow. This is familiar. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen illustrations, but I've never seen the live ones.
That's really.
chimney.
Yeah, you're probably right.
It's about the right distance.
Yep. And this wall used to go all the way across right here. There probably was a stove in the corner. Now, which ones of the windows are, I guess my first question is, can we tell by looking at these if all of these windows are from the 1916 remodeling? Did they actually replace the windows themselves, the sash and jamb in 1916? Because we know that the window openings were added, the more windows were added. So if the windows are all consistent, that means these are not 19th century windows, these are 20th century windows, early 20th century windows. And they look to me like they're very consistent.
The Historical Society had a grant to do something with the windows, and I'm not sure.
Right.
Well, that was a number of years ago. I'm not sure what.
I don't know if you were here when I pointed this out. I've never seen this before. I've heard it, but I've never seen this before. These windows, these double hung windows are actually held up by straps, metal straps, instead of sash boarding.
Really?
Yeah, it's metal straps.
And you've never seen that?
Never seen it before. Heard it, never seen it.
It looks like a 20s or early 30s product.
Yeah, 1916 is when they're saying this building was major remodeling and the windows were replaced. So my gut.
Or they were added.
What I'm looking at here is early 20s.
Windows added.
If you look at the original building, there was the windows above and the windows below. There were no windows between, and on the lower
A
floor,
lot of windows were added, yeah.
some windows were added on the lower floor between the windows.
Yep, strap.
But
This one has a rope here.
But this, what is, it was like, there must have been at one point.
Just to divert the air coming in.
Oh, so they put a wood thing here or something?
Yeah,
And then the air would come
Panel
out.
of some
Okay,
kind,
so
I think a piece of wood so that.
So this is an added window opening here.
Well,
Yeah.
we don't know which ones are added.
Well, if you go upstairs and look, you
Well,
can
you
tell.
can, because
I think
you look outside
I
the
think it's
casing
every
is
other
stone.
window.
The
So-
stone casing is on the old
Right.
window openings and wood on it. But if I remember correctly, the ones towards the corners are wood. I'm confident. they are.
Right. So I think that's added, that's original, that's added,
Right,
that's
right.
original. It was every other window.
Right, okay. And so that's starting to say that maybe Rudy's wrong, because this window has strap, this window does not, this window has strap, this window does not, this window has strap, this window has strap, but maybe it was, something was wrong with it, we replaced it.
Hey, Rudy,
Yeah,
here's another indication of how stable the walls are. This is just a finish coat of the plaster that's going to crack.
yeah.
If you go down to the brown coat here, you can see the crack stops.
You understand what you mean by brown coat?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is traditional three-step plaster. This is built up there, and this is built up there.
Brown coat and then yellow coat?
It's yellow from time to Lindsay.
It's the blue and the gray. I think they fought the Civil War here.
But
Same situation.
the thing to be highlighted here, though, that's extremely important,
You're rather
is
destructive,
that
Gary.
what we have here are windows that arguably are in the 100-year-old range. Okay, arguably within the 100-year-old range, and they are in incredibly good condition.
They
for
are,
windows of
on
that
all
age.
4 sides, they are in beautiful condition.
Incredibly good condition for that age. So, just the fact that windows
I
like
raised my
this could be restored and last another 100 years is an indication of the intention of the builders when this building was built and what the potential is for the building. You have windows here. To have windows made like this today would be exorbitantly expensive. Exorbitantly expensive. These are high-class windows. These are very good windows. Deep casings are just very incredible windows.
The structural stability of the foundation is also evidence. Everything is nice and straight.
Right.
All bearing walls.
Look at the corners and the
Very
door walls. If the building was falling down, as some people are trying to say, that would not be tight.
No.
That would not be tight.
You would have open joints everywhere.
Right, and there aren't any. No.
Well, all the good people that say the building is coming down are experts, you understand, Rudy.
That's my concern.
What about this crack here?
Bullshit.
This one here?
Yeah.
There's water right there.
Yeah, that's, the existing chimney goes up here,
Okay.
and the water coming off of that little gable projection that was part of the entry.
Right.
The stucco is failing, water is coming down.
So this
But
is
the
from
chimney
the,
that's in this corner is not original.
no.
That was probably added when they added the current
Rudy, you
boiler.
can poke at that again.
Okay. Now, we do have some deterioration here, but that's to be expected. The thing that's important to say, though, is that the odds of this floor being original are about 0.
This floor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this maple or oak? What is this, do you think?
Moisture content in the wall right here is
Maple.
40%.
Oak would have more grain.
Okay.
And what would you hope it would be, Gary? I mean,
Less than 15,
Yeah.
okay.
in the 10 to 12 range.
In Ohio, we're more in the 15 to 17.
Okay. And 40% would suggest what to you then?
That is a major failure in the envelope, and the water is getting to the inside of the wall.
Okay.
And the other problem is that, as we were discussing downstairs, part of the problem is the fact that this building, it was not done intentionally wrong. That's something that's important to understand about this. These things we're talking about was not a case of someone coming in and saying, well, I know this is the wrong way to do it, I'm going to do it anyways.
Right.
Instead, they thought, well, this was the right way to do it. Okay, Henry Ford himself probably perpetrated some of the greatest damage to historic buildings in the history of America when he decided to tell everybody Portland cement was the magic elixir.
Right.
Portland cement's good for everything, okay? Between him and Thomas Edison, they just marketed Portland cement all over the place. So what we've got now is a building that is sealed with paint on the inside, has a finished coat of plaster over the scratch coat and brown coat. And then we have it encased in Portland cement on the
On the
outside.
outside.
Okay, now what are septic tanks made of?
Cement.
Portland cement.
So the building can't breathe in essence?
Exactly, okay, exactly, okay. So the fact that it has survived that is incredible. I mean, the condition of these walls is
It's been abused
amazing.
and it's survived.
And it's still surviving, yes. But my recommendation, were this to be turned into a trade school, is it would probably take 10 years, but over a period of time, every year you would have a section of wall that you would restore the wall by removing the Portland cement on the outside, repointing the lime, that's the lime mortar, it's not actually mortar, it's bedding, lime bedding in the walls, and then just go around the building and return it to its original exterior surfaces. Because that would allow the building to breathe again, which would then lower the moisture content of the walls, and I
And
think
the 40 reading would be 15 reading?
well, no, the 40 reading would probably be a 25 reading until that leak up there was
I see.
fixed. Then the 40 reading would be a 15 reading. But it's a 40 reading right now because we have water coming in and there's nowhere for it to go.
Right.
That's the problem.
And the leak issue probably originates up at the cornice and where the valley comes down from the main section of the roof to this little entry projection.
So, not to be, I mean, it's no surprise.
No,
See it.
no,
We know the source of it.
No, nothing here is going to be a surprise.
And the thing that you need to realize about this is there's absolutely no point whatsoever in fixing this. You have to fix why it's here first.
Right.
Then you fix it.
Right.
Right now, you just leave it alone. So. Okay.
It's like addressing a wildlife issue without addressing a habitat issue. You can't
Right.
do one without the other.
See, now, this is one, I thought the brick wall was downstairs.
This is the dance hall. You didn't know that.
Rudy,
Yes.
did you happen to notice, if you look at the button,
Oh, yeah, this is a different
the
window.
windows in the back,
Yep.
those two of us have
I think the Historical Society got a grant at one point and some windows were replaced.
Yeah.
And
every one here.
Yeah, so we don't have original windows. Where's the weather wall here? Is this where more weather comes from?
yes, the south, yes.
Okay. So the south wall then is the weather wall, and the windows apparently did get enough damage that they were replaced. At least they weren't replaced with vinyl toxic.
They got a grant, I think the Historical Society did, I remember that at one point to,
4 hours.
yes. Oh, that was a long time ago when they were, this was they were actively pursuing, trying to fix this building up and trying to figure out how they could get climate control and all that.
That was interesting though. I think it's just the sash.
The two in the back, yeah, here's just a sash.
Right, because this one still has the roller in it for the strap.
Oh, yeah.
So these are the original jams.
So they didn't replace the sash cords, the pulley system at all.
So basically what we're saying here is were someone to choose to actually do a partial operation of this building, this part of the window, the frame and the jam are original. It's only the sash that was replaced. So the sash could be taken back out and you could replicate that sash, put them in these windows, and they would be as good as original, or as good as what original.
And notice the height of the bottom rail.
Yeah. And this is the old tail here.
So that's an 1869 cell.
No, I don't think so. My gut feeling is that all of these windows are probably early 20th century frame and all.
Okay.
My gut feeling is, but until you actually took one apart and did some investigation.
1916 or whatever Penny thought it was. Yeah.
That's my gut feeling. But I might be wrong. It may just be that the same thing happened in 1916, that they actually kept the jams in place.
Right.
It takes some investigation to determine.
Right.
The reason I say that is that the way that the molding is built up to match this pattern of the trim, the stone on the outside. So it may be this is 1869, and this is late 1900s and that's early 1900s.
Right.
That's very, very possible. It would take more investigation, and to be truthful, it would take someone besides me.
Right. No, I understand.
I can see these things, but this is
Right.
not my
No, I
job.
understand.
So,
Is this a building, is this a brick from here? You sent?
I don't know.
Well, it says Evans.
Evans Howard, St. Louis.
St. Louis.
Might be something the Historical Society left behind.
Yeah, well, it probably is. Yeah.
So
It appears only the windows on the north side have the contoured buttons, all the rest of them are these.
Have that, right.
Including on the.
And the question that we were just addressing is whether or not we have the potential for any of this historic casing work to be original to the 19th century, and sash replacement having been done in the early 20th century. And one of the things that we can look at is the fact that we're pretty confident that these windows here did not even exist before, or that window over there did not even exist before the 1916.
Right.
So when we compare the casings,
The new with the old,
sills,
yeah.
they're awfully similar.
Right.
So I'm thinking that what we've got is all early 20th century window jams and some late 20th century window sash in this one. That would be my hesitated expert guess. So.
You're looking up several floors out there.
What was the purpose of, oh, this just got changed later. Okay. Wow.
I got it already.
You got pictures?
Yeah.
Good. You know, the funny thing about this is a little bit better, but the thing that I learned about assessment work is that you look at the building, you take lots of pictures, and then you go back and you sit down and you look at the pictures. Usually you open a beer and then you look at the pictures.
And then have another beer.
And that's when you begin to actually understand the building.
You mean beer aids in the process.
But it is the process of sitting down and looking. See, the problem we have here is that the building is trying its darndest to stuff your head with information about what it is. At least my head, right? With buildings. And so when I'm in a situation where I have that much input coming in, it's really hard for me to see anything.
Right. Well, and it also takes rumination or reflection or contemplation.
You can sort of go back and say,
yeah, exactly.
I was wrong about that.
And Let me see that picture again. You know, wait, do you see what I see here?
Right.
No.
Do you know this person?
1972, 73, this must be something that fell behind. The Historical Society was moving out.
Entry is founded as well as the main building. Notice there's a crack.
Yeah, your era.
At the wall
It's
on the
distinctly
left.
my era, but unless it's Joan Watson, I won't recognize her. So, you know,
Right in
no,
here where the moist.
I don't know this person.
Right.
Well,
So you're thinking we've got a little bit of foundation?
Well, isn't the foundation downstairs flat?
Yeah, it doesn't project out.
So you think this,
Back wall is just, and
Do we have?
yeah, we've got separation right there in the corner.
Great, see that one.
See, now,
Had
you
to-
could move the print press.
Laura,
Yes, sir.
I need you to
I've
get
got
a
one in the
photograph.
back.
I know.
There's nothing new, or nothing exciting about it, so. That's the 70s, 80s.
Look right here. You got the separation?
Oops, excuse me.
Yep,
Need
I
Okay.
to
see,
get a picture of that.
okay.
Enterprise, Enterprise Room changed their look.
whoops!
Okay, do you want her?
I didn't see, yeah, I didn't see it.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
But this,
So here's something else that I just noticed.
yesterday in mail, just
Oh, I
looks dramatically
When
different.
the work was done,
Yeah.
whenever
Are
this
you
work
going
was
to
done,
feature-
with adding these walls and putting the ceiling up and everything, which looks to me to be early 20th century. The floor had somewhat of a sag in it right there,
I mean, I'm just love
because there's no cracks in any of the plaster work at all. No cracks in any of the plaster work, but we're definitely seeing
All this business, yeah.
Well, what are we gonna do to celebrate?
It looks like it dips right at that wall.
yes, yeah.
But it's,
So I think more than likely what happened, which is so common in buildings of this age, when they did the work, they really didn't take the time to go back and get everything exactly plumb and level where it was supposed to be, and they just made it stable where it was. Because we don't see any sign of any failure in the wall, but we see a sign of settlement in the floor. And so I think with that, when we look at the ceiling, it looks awfully flat. You know, so whatever they did at that time, there's a pretty good chance that they just built that wall into the opening that didn't have a parallel top and bottom, you know. Yeah, that's good, that's the picture we wanted to match that, Laura. Thank you.
Garland talks about those chalk-filled dusty rooms. I look
Yeah.
at these wonderful chalkboards, and I
I
think,
know.
now I know those are the chalkboards he's talking
I
about,
know.
but I just traveled back in time. Those chalk-filled dusty rooms. I'm sure it was exhibit sometime, but it may, I mean, frankly, this could have been here for school purposes. And then it was just sort of, repurposed, mass,
I'm not too familiar. Gary? Familiar with the local species here?
No,
No, I'm not either, so.
vaguely over in Guttenberg.
But this piece of trim that is leaning against the wall up there,
Be a close green, isn't it?
very close range.
Wow.
Yeah.
In a white one? Very nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm almost thinking maybe it's like well, it's not sycamore, it doesn't have the flex in it. I just don't know the species here. But the thing though that is interesting about this, to me anyways, is that all these nails that we see here.
I'll swing by and talk to
These are
you
cut
in
nails.
just a few minutes here.
And these are wire nails. So this
Thanks,
piece of trim survived the transition because here's the cut nails, which would indicate the early date,
Probably late 19th century or maybe original construction.
the original construction potentially, and here's wire nails from when the piece was repaired, replaced, maybe they took it off and did some plaster work, put it back on again. Okay.
There's another cut nail,
Yeah.
there's more wire nails.
Yeah, wire nail here.
We have a modern nail.
So every other nail, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Let light in here.
To get
So-
light in,
Here's
light.
light to light. It's a shaker.
Yep. So we do definitely have evidence of very early trim that still exists here in this building, very early trim. And I can't identify this species of wood, but it would not be a bad idea to maybe send a sample of it to the Forest Products Laboratory and ask them to identify it. It is extremely dense, and it's a high likelihood that this is old growth wood that's in the trim that's in
Sure,
here.
I mean, I'm sure it was from a tree that was within 5 miles of where we stand.
Right, yeah, but I'm not gonna hazard a guess as
Right,
a species, because I'm from
no,
Ohio.
That's
so.
right, exactly. And what do people from Ohio know?
Yeah, I know something about Ohio trees. Yeah. All right, let me put this back where I found it.
Was it just laying there?
Dorothy Shearer?
When I saw this exposed wood here, I was trying to identify it. It's a very satiny sheen to it. It's a beautiful wood, it's dense.
Could it be butternut? Butternut's really hard though.
It's soft, but it's very dense to go through, it's real tight.
It's extreme.
This is not the same wood that.
This is? Okay.
This appears to be the same as this, but not the main casing.
That casing, yeah. I think one of the things that's important for us to begin to understand here is that any building that's built as long ago as 1869, the chances of it surviving until 2014 without modifications is about nil.
Of course,
Okay.
of course.
Where you question whether or not it's worth taking the time to go back and restore a historic building often has a lot to do with how much was done to it and how it was done to it over time, okay? And what you find is that things that were done up until the mid-20th century were typically done in what I refer to as neoclassical style. They were at least trying to do it the old way, even if they weren't exactly doing it the old way. Once we got into the mid-20th century, we decided to abandon all that and just, you know, we've got better ways of doing all this stuff.
Over, yes.
You know? And so what happened to buildings is they became buried in garbage. And what we're standing here looking at is a time capsule, because this building has been modified. But it was modified when they were doing modifications well, okay? You notice I didn't use the word right.
Except for the Portland
You
cement.
don't want to use that word because you don't, as soon as you begin to tell someone you know the
They
difference
thought it
between
was the
right and wrong,
best.
is when you get in trouble.
Right. Well,
Might have been from Portland cement.
You
Portland
cannot
cement
question
wasn't here in the United States until
intention.
1878.
They were.
It didn't
But they
it
were
didn't come
being-
into common
they
use
were
until
under the constraint
after
of budget, they were
1910,
under the
which is when it
constraint
was
of wisdom, they were
standardized,
under the constraint of-
when the formula
Well,
for it was
Fred down the street to do
standardized.
it,
So
'cause he
you
just
do
bought
see
it.
some Portland
Yeah,
cement
but the thing is,
before
if you
the
look at the
First
work
World
in
War,
this
but
building,
not a
they
lot.
were doing
After the
everything
First
they could
World
to
War, it
emulate
was
the
like
work of the people
Rudy
who
said,
came before
it was
them.
the magic
All the way
elixir
through.
that
Yeah.
fixed
And to
every
me, what that
masonry
indicates
problem with
is
Portland
they had
cement.
something that we today don't. And that's what's unfortunate, and that's what happened to your courthouse.
Right.
What they had was respect for the people that came before them.
Well,
and the things that they did.
That's right. And there was also a sense of integrity about it.
Yep. So whatever's going on over here is right here. It's right here.
And
Yeah, I think it has something to do with the plumbing and that kind of stuff, but this is it. See, it starts right there, goes to right
Yeah,
here.
see right there.
Yep. Yeah, so it's
The
right.
carpet really gives us a nice reference line.
Laura,
It's
I need
straight
another photograph.
right there, it just dies.
right.
It lasts
Okay.
3 feet.
Never mind, it says it's a hazard, I probably
You can even see.
Yeah, it's probably in the line.
Well, and they, let's plywood it over, you know, let's, you know, I mean.
Oh, you know what this is? That's where the fire was.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
That's what it was.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the fire was. Okay, all right. Get a picture from standing right here of the sag in the floor. That's where the fire was, and this is.
Oh, right, okay.
Let's get this.
On the way, it'll show better. That carpet makes a nice reference line.
Yeah, exactly. It is hard to see this blue.
Work that was done. Because
Penny?
it closed right off.
He was just saying this is what the
I'm
other side.
saying it's very likely that this is also the configuration of what that other entry was originally. And then it was all just covered over and turned into a mechanical chase back there, wirings run up through it.
Right.
But this ceiling above here that you, if you were to pull this tin down, is beadboard. And it runs continuous out into there. I don't know if it does here, no, it's tinned over here too. But if you go back in the back and you look up, you'll see it's beadboard. So when this was
I don't know what
originally built-
beadboard is.
I'll show you.
You see it on porch ceilings a lot?
Yeah, it's.
Oh, okay, I know what you
wainscoting.
mean.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's a carpenter's trick for when you aren't gonna be able to get two boards to fit up
Right,
tight against
right,
each other,
right.
you put a bead on the end.
Right.
So now it doesn't matter,
Right.
because you've got two shadow lines anyways.
That's
So, yeah.
got it.
Yeah, so this is all beadboard.
Okay.
Beadboard is very consistent with mid-19th century construction. So this, the ceiling boards that are above this are high likelihood they're the original ceiling boards. All right, let's go upstairs.
To the orchestra hall.
This is an incredible
No
building.
idea what it is, but probably shouldn't be laying there.
It's
No,
incredibly
it's
stable.
not.
It is, I mean, walking around in it, it's just, it just.
Could you repeat that?
soundness.
What did you say again? It's
The
what?
building is incredibly stable.
Oh, okay.
5 milligrams of
It's-
isoprene in it.
It's no question to its structural stability of any kind whatsoever.
Especially given the long period during which there was no
Stop.
modern
You're right, it's not
environmental
hazard,
systems
that me out.
to control moisture and temperature.
My wife and you could get in for a lot of trouble. She's the same way.
And a little vandalism.
Yeah, and they haven't done anything to protect it.
Up there.
That was a good throw.
Yeah. They hit it pretty hard too, they punched the screen in.
Looks like there are at least 2 broken windows.
This is the windows on
This is that
this
same
profile
late
also
20s.
glass is much flatter. It doesn't have the,
But if you look at me, you have that same
yeah.
band. So these bands are at least early 20s. And
Now there-
sash replacement is,
There was leaking, so there is some water damage up here.
yeah, well, when I looked at the roof, I knew I was gonna see a building where there was gonna be some water in it. No question about it. And the roof configuration is not the original roof configuration either. My guess is it probably had either a cupola or a monitor of some sort.
Right in the center.
Okay, that makes sense. And it probably had box gutters. But one of the building's biggest enemy right now is when they reconfigured the roof to eliminate the box gutters, exterior gutters should have been put on. And that's a crucial part of the maintenance of this building. If that water is downstairs, if it was being collected by gutters and downspouts that channeled away from the building will be being taken care of much better than it is right now.
Right. The, this was used as this room was used as an orchestra hall.
I can see why.
Well, you have, even today,
Yeah.
you have live acoustics.
So all these windows up here are late 20th century.
Well, they didn't, unless they replaced them, they didn't add any windows upstairs.
But those would be wonderful workshops. Those would be wonderful workshops for students to have them, you know, every year a class could restore 2 or 3 windows. You know, pull out the sash, replicate the original sash, put the sash back in again, replicate the sash, clean up the jams, get everything working properly again. Because one of the things about this building that is unfortunate is the fact that this building was meant to allow for natural ventilation by having movable windows, which you've lost that now and they've gone to dependence on mechanical systems. Whenever you do that with a historic building, you invite some serious problems because natural ventilation is what keeps natural materials healthy. Modern mechanical ventilation does not do that.
What's the height of the ceiling?
A lot.
15?
Oh, no.
More.
I'd say close to 20, 18.
Yeah, I'd say 18. Yeah, I'd say 18. Yeah, that's amazing.
The only place I've noticed front. There's cracks in the plaster that go all the way through the line that this is surface, but all of the north and south walls.
What we're saying is that this foundation is a rectangle, but the building is not a rectangle. It's a rectangle with two bump outs on it, and the bump outs go beyond the rectangular foundation. So in order to investigate and determine what the cause of this differential settlement is, it would require some investigative work. You have to get out there and actually dig down and find out what's happening. My gut feeling is that you probably have a situation where the shallower footers and the lack of gutters after the box gutters were closed off has allowed the ground conditions to change because the moisture content of the soil around the building changed when the box gutters were eliminated. And when that happened, it caused the foundations that these bump outs sit on to get some settlement. And that's what we're seeing in the building, both in the front and in the back. And I might be wrong about that, but to me, it's what's rational about it. It's just, if you let water go on the ground, it changes the way the ground is.
And part of understanding the building is to be very, very rational about it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and you say, well, here's the manifestation, but what's underneath that? Well, this is what they were trying to do. This is the problem.
And they were not trying to do it in a highly technical manner either.
Right, right. And this is the problem that would result if they didn't do thus and such, and so on.
So this is an old system. This is another floor.
You think this is original?
I think this is original.
Modern.
Quarter sawn. Original quarter sawn floor?
Up here probably, Rudy, up on the second floor here, only about half of the windows have that strap saturated setup.
Really?
But all of the windows are the replacement. with
Right,
the
late 20th century
with all the
sash.
profile ones.
Right. But that'd be a great project for students to work on though. Yep.
And tell me
Oh, I wonder if
what's
maybe
the ceiling. I mean, what's the ceiling itself? I mean, are we talking, is that 10? Is that
Yes, that's 10. That's 10.
And is this
That was
original
done-
to the?
No, that was done when they did the restoration work in the early 20th century.
I don't mind.
They may have like added this wall too. I'm not
It
sure.
came from just up the road here in Nebraska. That's the name of that. They're still in business. WB Norman.
Now, if this were to be a trade school, where would we get the instructors?
Well, one of the things that I was fairly impressed with last night after I gave my presentation is how many people came up to me and said, well, do you know that Osage and northern Iowa is known for its tradespeople? Right.
But many of them are like Nels Goldberg, 78 years old. I mean,
Well, we better get them into the classroom.
well, I mean, you know, that's right. And Dave Randall's no spring chicken either, you know.
We need to get them into the classrooms now.
And the community college,
Nyack,
which one?
Nyack, North Iowa Area Community.
No, but there's Kirkwood. Kirkwood is offering some preservation classes. They're kind of a ways away,
There's
but
Cedar Rapids.
right.
One of the things that you need to realize about the trades is that tradespeople, unlike people in general today, were not worldly people, if you will.
Right.
They didn't practice their trade all over the world. They practiced their trade where they lived.
Right.
Okay, so their understanding of the local materials, being able to identify that wood downstairs that I can't identify, understanding the local vernacular so that they understand how something is built without having to take it apart, all of those things come with being someone who works in an area.
They were placed.
They were planted in,
Yeah.
right. And so to go outside, to go elsewhere to try and find the people to teach the young people today how
Is
things
by
are built in
definition
Northern Ohio.
improper.
Right, it doesn't make any sense. Right. So
And the point I'm making is there may be tradespeople
right.
locally. They are older than I am,
Right.
and they are practitioners rather than teachers. Although I mean, it's not they couldn't teach, you know, but they are no more interested in stepping up to a major teaching challenge at this point in their life than are you interested in coming out here and becoming a faculty member. I mean, you know, it's just not part of their. It's not part of their mind.
I partially disagree that we're talking about our parents' generation. And there are tradesmen who, if if they really know that their skills are valued and passing them on is something important.
Right.
If you find those people and they're out there, you have to make connections, and that's the hard part.
Right.
Because most of them are no longer practicing their trade.
Right.
Most of them are probably much more sedentary than they have been. They're not active, but they're out there, and finding them's a difficult part. But they're out there. You have to find them. I learned a lot of what I know from an old German in my hometown, who was old when I was in high school. But he taught me things that were very traditional. And what Rudy's talking about is
I hear what you're saying.
The crafts trades here are very traditional, and they are area-based. They're local, as opposed to contractors now. They work all over Northeast Iowa, if not the whole state. And they're using modern construction detailing and modern construction.
I'll tell you something else I've learned about tradespeople, okay? If you don't tell them that you're asking them to teach, and you just ask them to show the kids what they do, you won't believe the transition that will occur when they start realizing that the kids have an interest and start asking questions. The teaching is a natural thing. It's not a profession.
And the teaching is, in many cases, showing and doing alongside, rather than
it's a hands-on.
I'm going to tell you how to do it, and then I'm going to no.
So I think you might be pleasantly surprised were you to begin to construct a system, and I'd be happy to be involved in helping it work. Realizing at the very onset that we are wandering off into the unknown, okay? But to try and create a situation where you could put tradespeople and students together and figure out how it worked by watching. Because that's what would happen. I have never met a tradesperson yet that I can walk up to and have them have their tools in their hand with something that they can work on that's in their skill set that they don't enjoy showing you what they know how to do. They just do. You know, it's a natural thing. And that's all the kids want. That's all they want, you know?
Well, exactly. I appreciate the point. I also appreciate the fact that I mean, it's one approach, it's one concept for how this building could be handled. I mean, you know, and I get a little nervous about putting all our eggs in that basket because another approach would be, gee, I'm going to turn it into a, blank.
The truth is, though, we're talking about two different things. One, we're talking about this building. Two, we're talking about the need for trades education in Osage, Iowa. Two different things. Whether or not they marry here.
That's right. Exactly. That's precisely. And if you say we have to do the two things simultaneously, we may make it a bigger challenge than it would be if we just said,
no question about
look, this would make a great audiovisual center for somebody to buy and run movies here because they got a lot of money.
Well, let me put it to you simply. I can crystallize it right down to a very simple statement. Okay, you should save this building. You have to reinvigorate trades education here. That's right. Exactly.
I concur. Well said. There, those trades.
Well, and you see, and my perspective is, the should and have to. I can reverse those verbs, and I say we have to take the building. We should be doing it, because
we can get somebody with an extension ladder over here.
Let me check with the school.
But, the building.
Sure, they've got one at the school.
I would love to have one.
I don't want to miss any conversation.
Where would you go up, Rudy?
There's access there.
Access panel right here, so we get an extension ladder, we can get up on the roof.
Would you be willing to go over and ask for the custodian and ask if we could have an extension ladder to look up in the corner?
I have to leave.
You have to leave.
I literally have to leave.
I'd do it if I knew him.
Well, I know his name, but I don't know.
And if Rudy and I, I'm sure, are both in.
All right, I'll have to stop recording for a moment. Don't say anything too important while I'm gone. I'll go check.
Right. When something's falling on it.
Uh-oh, here it comes. That's what those nails are for. Don't end up with one on the top of your head.
We don't happen to have the luck to have a light switch up there.
Surely you just.
Wow. You want to try this, Rudy?
That's what I thought. That's why I wanted to get up there.
I thought they'd have a ladder we could get up there with.
Let's put the ladder against here.
Okay.
Let's reposition so you
I've
can't
got
get up.
the bottom still. Are you just going up?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Oh, I've got to get up there too. And
Here.
Oh, sorry.
he might need that.
We're just going to reposition the ladder so it's easier to get
Got it.
in. 1 or 2.
Yeah, I want to go ahead and pull up a ladder.
If you do a couple, then you'll have
What, you got room for 2?
That's meet OSHA standard.
Another one?
One more.
Okay. That feels pretty good. You going up?
Penny wants to go up. Maybe
I'll let you guys go. Is there a place for me to stand up there?
Our boards,
Oh, good.
haphazardly laid across the wood joists, but
I'm a climber. When I was 5, I climbed the silo. I was so proud of
Oh my
myself.
gosh, I don't think
My mom was gone. My dad was watching me, of course. I mean, he had no idea where I was. So I love to climb.
I just went up a 70-foot scaffolding for a bell tower we're looking at bidding on. I was pretty proud of myself. It had interior stairs.
So of course I'm going to need some flashlights. So my camera shows something. I wonder if there's a way that I can have a light. Look at this brickwork here. Wow. Oh, it zoomed in. No wonder it was. Of course, I left my big flashlight down below. Well, that's the door.
semi-sturdy. I would step over here. Here we have the door.
All right.
And give me your, let's see. Give me this for a second. So you can,
Okay, there we go.
okay, got it?
Got it. Now who's next up? Oh, we've got like a little room here, a little wall. Oh, that's plaster on the. Is that all we're gonna see?
No.
Okay.
We're gonna see.
Oh, wish I could get. I wonder if there's a way I can turn a flash on here, a light on.
Oh crap.
Oh yeah, give him some light here. I'll get out of the way. Is there another board I can step on?
Yes.
Right over here. Okay. So Rudy can step on the board I was on.
I gotta just get my flashlight
That's
out.
okay. You're going to need it in a minute.
There we go. I just dropped my.
Leftover tin.
Oh yeah. Yeah, some extra. Look at a box.
Oh yeah. Repair tin.
And some kind of a contraption.
Air return or air?
No, it's some sort of a tool that they made up, maybe for bending sand or something.
Here,
Yeah.
flat on the bottom.
Okay. This is the latch here.
Well, you want that? Yeah.
Sturdy board underneath it.
Okay.
Okay, going up.
Oh wow. Oh, it's got a walkway and everything.
Where's the light switch?
Yeah. So it's all spiked and planked. Yep. Purlins beams.
Look at the length of that purlin.
Yeah. That's laminated. Watch your head, there's a lot of nails poking through. Some other kind of contraption right there.
Ah, the joint, this, okay, these joint, or these, what's what I'm looking for? Truss. Kind of a king post truss with steel rod.
Oh yeah, so it's a king rod truss.
Yeah. And sure.
Is there a ladder there?
There's planks that are
Okay.
nailed to the wall that form a ladder.
All right, I found it.
You can hand me the poker. Thank you. Watch your head, Penny. There are nails.
Nails poking through. I heard you.
Okay, here's more timber. It's a hand-hewn timber. And this is a combination truss. This is a combination king post, queen post.
Yes.
Or queen rod,
We've
king
got the
rod.
queen rods over
Yep.
there.
Yep.
We also do have a light socket up here. However, there's no bulb in it, and you have to walk over here to turn it on.
And the wiring is somewhat questionable since it's just kind of tied around this.
Yeah. Seems to end right there. Rudy, stay right there, would you? I want to take a photograph. I'll get the king and the king post. Stay.
Wow.
That's how the construction of the courthouse was, with the beams slid down in, and then they had come up out of that. Several of the beams had out of the posts they were grooved into.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Gotta go to flash here.
Yeah, it's pretty low light level up here.
It did show you though. Well, like, good thing you're holding the flashlight. You have to hold it on your face next time.
I wonder if I turned this to camera, if I could. Oh, I didn't have the record on. Duh.
I don't see any obvious wet spots on the underside of the sheathing.
Or areas where it's been wet.
There's some staining, but
It was leaking on the south side, which would be our left if we're looking straight ahead here. I should get out of your way here. I'll move over.
No, it's okay.
I
want to get to the point where I can get a
it
good
looks very
picture of
damp.
that.
It looks damp down by the top plate. Wow, look at those joists, or those rafters. Oh, they are not continuous. They sit on the purlin, and there's a joint at the purlin. And the purlins are mortised into the truss cord.
It is in much better shape than I had anticipated. A lot of wane up here. They were definitely using lower grade timber.
Oh, still got the bark on it.
Mm-hmm.
What's up? Oh, this is part of the
Yeah, this is
bell. Oh, look, there's the
Yeah.
pulley for the bell.
Yep. Yep.
In case there was ever any question where it was.
Right. Yeah, no question about that.
There, that helps me when you give me some light like that.
So that's a retrofitted truss repair there.
Indeed.
And there's some sag there in that beam, the purlin there.
And this is very modern dimension lumber,
Right.
wire nails,
Screws.
galvanized.
Let me get a picture of you over there. Just turn your light off for just a minute, Penny.
I don't have a light.
Oh, you're just using your camera.
That's your light.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I'll turn my light off. There we go.
All I'm picking up is your voice, and when you take a picture like that, I got a little bit.
Yep.
When you show your light over there, I get a little bit. See,
Yeah,
I'll
it's
get
just a
something
rough
where
edge
you have
point.
your light, see?
Yeah. It does look like it's in pretty good shape, though. I don't see any sign of deterioration. There's one spot I saw over here. There's a lot of pigeon guano, or I mean bat guano right here.
Okay, they may have gotten, maybe they're still here, I don't know.
Yeah.
The deterioration, failure of the roofing system on this rear entry projection
Yeah.
is past. It must be at the outside, the weather face of the brick wall, right at the outside of the cornice.
You're not seeing anything inside?
But it's right up to the inside of the
This
wall.
little chimney.
Mm-hmm.
Can you
Dry
tell how many
and is
bricks
not
are in the wall?
stained.
Is it 3 wide or 4?
Little staining on the south side, but it's dry. It looks dry.
Let me see if I can do that, Laura. The problem is,
Do it right here where the ladder is.
okay. See, the problem is that the walls have a timber on top of them because all of these trusses are tied together with timbers at the outside edge that are the plates for the rafters. So you have timber plates. I'm going to take a picture of that too.
Here, I'll do this while you take a picture, then I'll get a little bit when your flash goes off.
All the rafters in this rear entry projection are bearing on a approximately 8x8 timber.
Right. Plate. Yeah.
Bird's mouth is cut on the outside of the timber. And the bottom edge on the inside of the rafter, inside surface is bearing on the top of the plate. And there doesn't appear to be any, it's too low an angle, I can't get all the way at it, but there doesn't appear to be any rot or deterioration, so.
Yeah, I'm not seeing much deterioration at all. I'm seeing some water staining.
Well, there was leaking here whenever they replaced the roof.
Yeah, you can see it leaked. There's water staining, but it
There's a
didn't.
couple of what are probably the original shingles.
Oh, really?
Cedar? Or slate?
They're cedar, or, well, pine, probably white pine.
Well, bring them over, so we,
Yeah, that's curious.
okay, I'm gonna follow you so that I can have a little light here.
Yep.
I can see your light. It makes a big enough light for me too.
Okay. Take a look at something right here.
Dusty back here,
Yeah.
coming out.
Wait. No, this is what it zoomed in. That's the problem here. There we go. It does that just on its own.
This, Rudy, this truss is definitely a modern addition.
Can you tell why?
Modern dimension lumber, all the fasteners.
I mean, can you
on
tell
wire
why it
needles.
was put there?
It's built up out of,
But what was it trying to correct?
I have a hunch that this rear entry may have been a later addition. The rafters cut off. That one, I can't tell. Let's see, where's that end? Right there. Oh, that's, okay, retract that statement. It's all fastened. The rafters and are all attached. Like the main rafters are, and the cripple rafters are attached to the valley rafters with cut nails. But this truss running along back here, that doesn't go all the way to the outside edge of the building either.
Dave Randall's probably the one who did that. He could probably tell you why it was done.
Yeah. Everything seems tight.
Okay.
So you're not seeing any major problems up here?
No.
I'm surprised. I thought there'd be more signs of dampness up here.
I can't believe the size of these, what do you call them, the going across. Those had to be some
That's
huge.
the bottom cord.
They had to be some huge trees.
Yeah, that's the bottom cords of the trusses. That's why they have a clear span downstairs. Because they had that big timber to run the rods down through.
Rudy, are you taking pictures?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Even without my help, I'm taking pictures. Oh, here, I can
Oh,
see
look.
the top of the wall really well over here.
Yeah.
Where they put that stairwell addition on.
Oh, yeah, that's.
Oh, that's perfect. That's excellent.
Well, that stairwell upstairs was probably original.
Right, but that little closure where you come out into the room below us, that's a later addition. The part that's right under here, that's a later addition.
Oh, yeah, like they're cut off, aren't they? Oh,
Looks like it's a 3-wife wall at the cap. But I'll try and get some good pictures here. I can actually go out on this plank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want me to hold the, oh no, you'd need the light
I
when you're
couldn't
there.
document what's going on back there, but my camera died. My battery is kaput, and I'm out of
I got 18 minutes left, so you
space on my.
You need to buy a bigger, I went and got a huge thing for my video camera.
Well, I have over 1,100 photographs in here. Right
Oh, see,
I
I
just cleaned mine off before I came.
take them off and delete.
So this is, it's some sort of a lifting contraption right here. Has a pulley in it. See that little framework there? And there's a pulley inside of it. So they were using that for pulling something up here.
The bell?
No, I don't think so.
Not strong enough for that, is it?
Although, does it line up with this one?
Oh, maybe that was like the cord came over here.
The cord came over here, and that's where they rang the bell from.
Okay.
There's a little pulley on the staircase when we came up on the ceiling.
Uh-huh.
So I think you could ring it from the first floor.
Yep, you could. Okay, you heading back in there? Yeah. So am I.
All right, so don't bump heads here. I have got lots of good light now. I got both your flashlights.
Right there.
Good.
Huh.
Yep. I think that was for ringing the bell.
Yep.
Really meaning this thing.
Yes, you did. Did
Sure.
you want to see it?
And the ringing mechanism.
Yeah. Yep.
What kind of bricks would you say these were?
Well, it's local. Yeah, it's a soft local.
Would they be handmade like the courthouse bricks were?
Well, they're all handmade.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're, you know, but they're definitely.
Some sort of something was done there.
This, the curved wall apparently is original, if not early, if not original. That's
Mm-hmm.
all cut nails.
I bet it's original.
I would think
And
so too. How
big
come that one
radial, I mean,
board there's not, they're not attached to anything? What's going on there?
bits.
See? The ends?
Where's that?
The board right there. It's
Here,
like,
yeah.
it's not attached. What's up with that?
No, it's just sitting on top of the wall. That's all it needs to do.
Yeah, it's bearing on the masonry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just bearing on the masonry. All right, I want to get a picture. I'm going to hand you my camera.
Rudy,
Yeah.
hey, what were you asking?
I was saying about being able to shine the light so you can see where to go up.
Oh, okay.
You see the little,
If I go to the right, it looks like?
I'm going to hand you
Well, I'm gonna,
that stucco and go back to the brick exterior and report the bricks. And the reason is that the stucco is made out of Portland cement. You know what they make septic tanks out of? Portland cement, because they hold water, okay? So by encasing this in Portland cement, what it's done is it's caused the natural ability of the building to breathe to be very compromised. And it has a lot to do with why we're seeing as much moisture as we are in the basement the building just can't breathe. And so slowly, methodically taking that plaster back off again, repointing the bricks. The bricks appear to be in good shape. Anything that I can see of them, the bricks are in good shape. And the mortar is probably some of the best bedding that I've seen in a long, long time. The quality of the bedding here, like you said, the aggregate, the sand are very high quality. The lime content is very high. So it doesn't even need repointing necessarily, but I think in the process of doing that, that's what I would recommend. And then do some work on the floor joists downstairs. But all of these things can be done in a teaching environment, and the building can be brought back to a beautiful structure, and it still is a beautiful structure, and could continue to be used as classroom space. But then the students that were coming to school, instead of working on this building, then would go out and start working on other historic buildings around town that are in need of repair, and give them an opportunity to learn how that's done. Because the truth is that every year there are more jobs in historic, people call it preservation, but it's really conservation, but in taking care of historic buildings, keeping them useful, there's more jobs every year in that field, a lot more jobs, and they're good paying jobs too. So directing students in that direction is doing them a favor, not doing them a disservice. It's not because they're not smart enough to do something else. It's because if they just choose to do this, they can figure out how to use their particular type of intelligence in a different way than other students do. You don't have to learn everything out of a book.
Everybody's the same.
So I think it'd be a great opportunity. And you couldn't ask for a better classroom. You couldn't ask for a better classroom. There's so many things here to learn from. There's the window repair, there's the carpentry repair, there's the masonry repair, there's the stone foundation work. There's just so much here that you can learn from. Great.
Historic roofing, and you decided to go back.
Yep.
National Register, they would like you to go back to the original roofing.
Historic
which
roofing.
apparently is cedar.
Plaster.
Or probably pine, given the date of construction.
Lime plaster work, trim work, everything.
And it's, as Rudy said, the building is structurally, the foundation and the structure of the building is very, very solid.
I mean, when you stand here, it looks like, oh, I don't know. But what are we looking at? Peeling paint.
True, as I see the walls, they are very straight.
Yeah, the floors are sound as you could ask for. This is a beautiful quarter sawn floor. It's a gorgeous floor.
And most of the cracking you see on the plaster and the lower floor is just the finish coat coming off. The brown, I peeled some off where it was cracked, and the brown coat is not cracked.
Yeah, so you can go back and put a new finish coat on, and the walls will be like new.
The only other structural thing we noticed that is questionable is what's carrying the load of the back projection, because that has settled and has pulled away from the building a little bit.
I don't mean to beat an unborn horse, but again, that's a tremendous opportunity to learn how to do structural repairs to a masonry building.
Well, could perhaps an elevator be put back there to bring it into the 21st century so it would be ADA accessible?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that wouldn't change the front of the building so much.
Right, wouldn't change the exterior at all.
And you need a second means of egress anyhow. I mean, you do have the fire escape,
but no stairs.
No stairs.
Yeah. And fire department has a trampoline they bring out.
I'm sure those were removed.
I mean, to use the second floor, you would need to have a means of egress that's accessible to the public, not just the fire department climbing off the fire escape.
Yeah.
Well, it did have a ladder that went down, but they kind of cut that off just so kids wouldn't be climbing up here causing more problems.
I'm sure that the current building inspector wouldn't approve that as a second means of egress. Right.
What about the ceiling? Is that original, or is that
No.
added?
I'd be willing to bet you that what's right behind this is what's called beadboard, which is boards that are about six inches wide, and they have an 1/8 of an inch bead on each edge. On one edge. And that masks the fact that they may not line up perfectly when you put them together. But
You can see a little of it downstairs, can't you?
let me take that back. Downstairs, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Up here, it's plaster. That's a plaster ceiling up there. Downstairs, it's a beadboard ceiling, because we find historic areas where you can see the historic ceiling. So downstairs, this is plaster. Because when we were just walking around it, we were looking at the back and laugh. It's up there. So this is a plaster ceiling. But I think this wall is not original to the building. All of this beautiful tin work is from what Penny can tell from research, 1916 is when the majority of this work was done to this building. Now that said, a lot of these windows sash, not the frame, not the window itself, not the jam. In this case, not even the stops, but the sack is late 20th century on everything except the wall right below us. The wall right below us is early 20th century section. It still is in very good condition. So, see, that's the other opportunity, because this was not profiled in the match. The students could get an A class where every year, depending on how many students were involved, you could take 1 or 2 or 3 windows, pull out this late 20th century sack, replicate the early 20th century sack, and then restore the windows. And the other thing that they have, this one doesn't, and I'll show you downstairs, there's something completely unique to me in this building. See, these are screwed in.
Is that a replacement window, do you think?
It depends on who did it, but there probably is lead in the paint.
Oh yeah, when it cracks in rectangles. I went to the lead safe renovators class and they said that means lead.
Yeah, so it probably does need abatement.
And so what do you do with that? I mean, you strip that off?
Yeah.
You bring in abatement professionals, and in areas where you can't.
That would be another thing they could teach.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing is if they want to go out and work in the field on any windows experience. No, they will. The company they're working for will be fined big time if they are not trained in and certified in lead abatement practices. So that would be a perfect opportunity to do that here. It'd be a great opportunity. And it doesn't look like it's horribly built up either. You know, I'm not seeing that many layers here, and that's probably not lead. Probably just this is lead.
And the profiles are still nice and sharp.
Yeah.
They're not obscured by multiple layers of paint.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but that's for a young person to go out and get a job in the field doing that, they have to be certified in lead abatement. You can run it here. Yeah, I love it. And this I really like. Okay.
This sounds.
Here's the screw. Yeah, it's very well hung, isn't it?
So you know what this means? That this glass is put directly on the bed, in the glazing bed. There should be a layer of, well, now a window sealant, but there should be a layer of putty put on that, and then the glass pressed into that.
Right.
Otherwise, they rattle.
Right. Yeah. But what I love about this is here's the screw here, right? Here's the screw here, and then here's this.
That's just weird.
Here's the appearance.
No one will know.
And there is one thing you get with not having any storm windows, if they kind of vision on the inside,
Right.
then that happens.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that would be a.
But this is these windows, including the original, one of the ones that appear to be original, are very restorable.
Yes.
Rehabilitable.
Rehabitable.
They're and great windows. Great windows. You can't buy windows that quality today. You just can't. Just not.
No, the wood just doesn't last that.
No.
This is all first, or maybe these are second growth, but the original.
Yeah, this part out here is all first.
Okay.
It's
Yeah, see, that's how you get it off, see?
Definitely had a different color scheme in here.
Yellow, good old yellow, or lumber.
Yep. Yep. And that paint is sound still.
Yeah.
Very sound.
Yeah, but
And
it's,
that is not lead based.
Alligator.
you sure? The one that's kind of alligatored in rectangles, that's not.
I bet that's not lead.
Old paint, they didn't put lead in?
I don't think so. This is probably linseed oil base,
Oh, okay,
more than likely.
okay.
But white lead, well, could be lead. I mean, lead and zinc oxide were your two primary white pigments.
Right. Right.
So it
Could be.
But in a colored paint like that, there might not be any lead or zinc.
No, it's designed.
But those are all things that can be found out. You know, and again, it's from my point of view, what I told you this morning is
Oh, that's another broken window over there, isn't it?
you should never look at any of these things as barriers. When you hit something that says, oh, well, we've got lead, it's not a barrier. It's not a stopping point. It's just an opportunity to figure out a solution. That's all it is. What's the solution?